Additional aids and services are available to individuals with disabilities. To make such a request, please contact us by email, by clicking the Help tab in the PD portal, or at pdportal@tamu.edu, by phone, including Relay Texas at 1-800-441-7323, or in writing to Train PD, PD Portal Support, 4477 TAMU, College Station, Texas 77843. Both a transcript and accessible document of the content presented in this webinar can be found as resources in the course description. Click on the blue links under Course Resources in the description. When a link is clicked, a new browser window will open.
I'm very happy to have Tracy Hendricks, our testing subject matter expert, co-presenting with me. We're both excited to present the new NRS test options, important details every program administrator should know or should consider. Okay, so our agenda this morning. Our purpose today is really to give you a status update of where we are at and what we know today. The agenda includes NRS test changes as well as upcoming webinars and training. These sections will be presented by Tracy Hendricks. 3 and 4 will be sections that I'll review. And basically, it's highlighting important details that are relevant to these changes, as well as review some policy refreshers with some additional highlights that we feel you will find helpful and important as you look to transition to the new test. Number 5, we want to provide you with additional information, tools, and resources as you navigate through this wild, wild world of testing, and it does get pretty wild. And finally, we will review answers to some of the questions we've already received, and hopefully, with time permitted, give you an opportunity to ask questions that weren't covered in today's presentation. Our primary objective today is to help you navigate these changes, learn about the impact to teams, and should you decide to transition, make the necessary adjustments to maximize gain and maintain data integrity. So I think everybody's already heard that all of the ESL tests that were slated to sunset this June 30th have now been extended through June 30th of 2025. It is our intent to give providers as much flexibility as possible. As such, TWCAEL has made the decision to support both old and new NRS-approved tests in teams by July 1st, 2024. That is with the exception of Best Plus 3.0 paper-based test. The AEL testing guide for program year 24-25 serves as TWC's AEL testing policy. So it's our intent to give providers as much flexibility as possible. On to number 3. The AEL testing guide will include all of the new and old approved tests that will be available in teams. At the local level, you decide which test your program will use. The follow-up to your decision is really just to ensure you have your standard operating procedures updated accordingly. Test publishers have advised us that both the new and old versions of the test will be available, as well as resources to support them. As of today's date, we have not received any official federal registration notice that TABE 1314 has been approved. Until that's received, we cannot pull TABE 1314 into teams. We'll keep you posted on this. So what's new with the National Reporting System for Adult Education? This slide actually shows all of the changes that have been approved by NRS for the ABA test. So on the left-hand side, you can see the old test instruments, their forms, and the sunset date. On the right-hand side, you can see what test instruments are new, their forms, their EFL levels, and when they are deemed to expire. So in looking at this particular slide, we know we're good with CASAS reading goals for the next program year. CASAS reading goals will not sunset until June 30th of 2025. For everyone using CASAS for math, please know June 30th is going to be the very last time you can use it. As of June 30th, this test series will expire. And this means that everybody using CASAS now will need to transition to the new CASAS test instrument, CASAS Math Goals 2. And as I mentioned earlier, TABE 1314 has not yet been approved. However, we're good to go with 11 and 12 because that sunset date is not until June 30th, 2025. Oh, we've got a lot going on from an ESL perspective. Once again, the old test instruments are on the left-hand side with the new test instruments replacements on the right. So Best Plus 2.0 sunsets next year, June 30th. However, you can transition to Best Plus 3.0. The e-test forms only. TWC AEL and Teams will not support the printed versions of this test. Best Literacy is transitioning to Best Literacy 2.0. CASAS Life and Work Listening has been extended until June 30th, 2025. However, if you wish, you can transition to CASAS Listening Steps. CASAS Life and Work Reading also has been extended until June 30th, 2025. And once again, if you choose to, you can transition to the new test instrument, CASAS Reading Steps. The new version will be available through July 13th, 2030. TABE Class C, A and B has been extended to sunset June 30th as well. And right now, we haven't had any word yet of TABE Class C, Form C and D being approved. As soon as we hear something, we'll let you know. We're excited about this new test that's been approved by NRS, the ACT Work Keys. There are two versions, one for math and one for workplace documents. The math version goes to EFL levels or supports EFL levels, ABE 1 through 6, whereas the workplace document supports ABE levels 2 through 6. And we hope to have this in Teams as of July 1st. Of course, it's going to be contingent, as all the new tests are, upon internal and external user acceptance testing. When we're looking at ACT work keys or an IET, you only need one MSG. IETs only need one MSG. Tracy wanted to ensure that you had this information with regards to the test training plan. It includes all of the test publishers as well as the test series that are new, and really what's in the plan as far as test administration training for the administrators and the proctors. Here are some considerations that are important to note as we're nearing the end of the grant cycle in the program year. Number one on our list is a reminder that every participant must achieve at least one MSG within this program year. Post-test should be given by June 30th to maximize your gains for this program year. Things you might want to do is review the team's MSG management extract report to see who needs the test. Students should have the minimum test publishers' required instructional hours to post-test. There are early testing exceptions, and we'll cover that on the following slide. Programs must enter end dates for all teams' classes as they occur, but not later than June 30th, 2024. The new grant and the new grant program year requires new classes in teams. All students, including returning students, must be added to the new classes. It's important to consider your test transition plan before adding students to the new classes. You do not have to automatically retest every student in the new program year if the last test taken is still valid. Valid tests are NRS approved with a score in teams that is less than or equal to 365 calendar days. So here are some considerations with regards to early testing. You can early test an individual if the participant is leaving the program before they have completed the minimum hours. You can early test if the participant is ready for a post-test. You can also early test if there is a long gap anticipated, such as winter or summer breaks. And you definitely have to test If the test instrument has reached its sunset date, your program is transitioning to a new test instrument, or the participant is ready to take the HSE exam. And number 7, in consideration of workplace literacy programs, the instructional time is reduced to meet the employer's objectives. Now, this, like any other exceptions or exemptions, has to be documented, recorded via the team's participant notes and documented in the participant file for monitoring purposes. Some key considerations when you're looking at teams. Now, this is where it gets kind of techy, and the logic within teams requires us to do some additional work to ensure we have data integrity maintained if we're transitioning to a new test instrument. Teams doesn't recognize gains or accrued hours between different test instruments. The same test instrument must be used for the post-test as what was used for the pre-test prior to the student's first contact hours in that class. If you're changing the student's test instrument in the middle of a program year, you must create a new duplicate test class for students tested with the new test instrument. I know that seems a little weird, but when we look at this, the actual test is tied to the first contact hour within the class. So here's an example. You may have one physical class, and the current test may be called HSC 01 Math, and it's from 9 to 11 a.m., and it's in the annex building. And the student's test instrument was CASA's math goals. Well, as of July 1, CASA's math goals really ceased to exist from a valid perspective. So you would create a duplicate class, and you would give it a name. Perhaps you just add G2 to the end of the team's class name. And then ensure that when you're entering this student, you enter their test instrument and their scores and the date first, and then go ahead and add them to the class. Once again, it's so important. Don't enter those contact hours until the new test and score has been recorded in Teams. The new test instrument becomes the student's new baseline. The test instrument, hours accrued, and subsequent MSG gains can now be recognized and reflected correctly in the MSG Management Extract report. So here's an example of what the screen would look like in Teams to create a class for the new test instrument. So step 1, create class for new test instrument. Step 2, enter student test and score. Step 3A is to add the student to the new Teams class. Step 3B is to complete adding the student to the class. This is where you also select the test instrument taken by the student. It's really important to ensure that when doing so, the correct test instrument's identified. And finally, number 4, enter the student's first contact hour for the class. So the following slide will have a lot of refresher information, policy information that you're already aware of, but we wanted to just reemphasize some of these areas as we go forward into this new program year. The pre-test, just a reminder, all content areas must be administered in pre-test and post-test unless exempted. And we've got the exemptions on the following slide. Pre-test are used for pre-test, post-test MSG type 1A assessment and level placement, and it must be of the same test instrument, but alternate form. And the period of participation begins when the student reaches 12 direct contact hours after the NRS approved pre-test. As mentioned on the earlier slide, all content areas of a test must be administered in both pre-test and post-test unless exempted. So the exemptions include referral from college with a documented TSIA2 score. Administer only the non-college ready areas. Number 2, college referral with documented exemption from taking TSIA2. For example, if the HSC exam score was 165 or above, there would be no need to test in that area. Number 3, if the student's enrolled in a class that provides instruction in only one content area, test for that applicable content area only. Number 4, if the student passed the text chase section, exempt from testing in that area. Number 5, enrolling in an IET program, the provider may test the most relevant content area only. They don't have to test all subjects. And number 6, if there's another documented reason for testing only one area, such as specific student goals or objectives. And remember to document in Teams participant notes and student files. On this page, you'll see a lot of the information that's relevant to period of POP participation. But the key thing is, if a POP spans program years, contact hours carry forward. No need for a new baseline unless the test instrument has sunset or the test is greater than or equal to 365 days. Post-test. Post-test is their progress test. Post-test must be of the same test instrument as the pre-test with an alternate form given. I can't stress this enough because I know sometimes, especially in the middle of a program year, we're anxious to go ahead and try out a new test instrument. But in doing so, if we don't take the proper steps within Teams, we could lose out on accrual of hours as well as recognition of gains. So here's an example of a student being pre-tested on Best Plus 2.0 with Form D. Only the alternate form of Best Plus 2.0 will be recognized as the post-test. So you can post-test the student on Form E for Best Plus 2.0 or Form F on Best Plus 2.0, but you cannot go from Best Plus 2.0 to Best Plus 3.0. The key element on MSG Type 1A gains is that pre-test, post-test is going to compare participants' initial EFL measured by the pre-test with their post-test EFL. Once again, post-test must correspond to the alternate form of the pre-test. On the bottom, you'll see an image of a student who's taken a pre-test. The post-test taken shows a gain. Later on in the program year, the student takes another post-test and scores lower. He's back to the level he was when he first pre-tested. The nice thing about this is once a gain is earned, it cannot be unearned by further testing. Valid test instruments carry forward to the new program year. Test is less than 365 days old and the test has not reached sunset date. So this is an example of, hey, you've got the test taken in April. It's definitely under 365 days. So as long as it hasn't sunset, it's still a valid test beginning the new program year in July 1st. Now, this is a little bit of a busy slide, but it's a test scenario spanning multiple program years with and without sunset dates. So you've got a student that's taken CASAS math goals and CASAS reading goals in the April timeframe. Well, program year 1 ends June 30th. And the CASAS math goal sunset date is June 30th of 2024. So beginning July 1st in the new program year, if this student's planning on continuing with his math classes, let's say he starts a class or he's expected to start a class July 7th, he has to be tested on the new CASAS math goals 2 no later than July 10th. That test now becomes the baseline for the student for math. Since the CASAS reading goals doesn't expire or sunset until June 30th, 2025, that test can roll over and there's no requirement to test again. The test that was taken in April, the scores, and the accrued hours carry forward. We've got some additional information and resources available for you. I know many of you are very familiar with the Teams MSG Management Extract report. This report is just a wealth of information, everything from the participant ID to what type of MSGs were earned by the participant, when the student took a pre-test, when they took the post-test. This is a great report for doing a sanity check in terms of, hey, who's ready to test, who's met the minimum hours for this program year, who's close to meeting the minimum hours for this program year. Are there any other MSGs that the student may be eligible for? It takes a little bit to maneuver it, but the information's there. And if you need any assistance, please don't hesitate to reach out to AELTA. All the TWC approved assessment trainings will be available in the new Texas AEL testing guide for program year 24-25. It'll also include all the requirements for test supervisors, test administrators, and proctors. There's also a T-call link that will be updated with the new information for the new program year, and I've got that listed here on this slide. Providers are required to follow the test publisher's guidelines and ensure individuals administering the test meet the staff training and administration guidelines found in the Texas AEL testing guide. By the way, testing is so important that our TWC subrecipient monitoring department does check for adherence compared to the AAL testing guide and administration policies. If a program is found to deviate from the requirements, that program can end up in having compliance findings as well as being put on corrective action. So we can't stress enough how important it is to ensure that you understand the AEL testing guide requirement and that you're following the policy. And if you have any questions, once again, please reach out to the AEL TA team. Additional test resources are included in the AEL testing guide, the new one. We haven't released it yet, but we're hoping for it to be released definitely by July 1st, if not earlier. The AEL Performance Guide, as well as some AEL letters. And then finally, the U.S. Department of Education's NRS Technical Assistance Guide for Performance Accountability. Okay, so FAQs. The next 4 slides covers the FAQs that we've received so far that have been asked several times. So we're thinking it's pretty important for folks, and hopefully this will address some of the questions you may have. So number 1, when can we start administering the new test and enter them in teams? July 1st of 2024. Once again, this is a date that's contingent upon user acceptance tests, both external and internal. Can we pre-test baseline participants on the old instruments and then post-test progress those students on the new instrument? And the answer is no. You cannot pre-test on one instrument and post-test on another. You must baseline and progress test on the same instrument to count. You cannot intermingle. So, for example, Class 100 participants should not pre-test baseline on a BEST Plus 2.0 and post-test or progress on a BEST Plus 3. You can, however, mix and match. You can have one class that's been pre-tested and post-tested on BEST Plus 2.0 and another class that's been tested using BEST Plus 3.0 test instrument. Can we use program year 23-24 funds to purchase new tests for the new program year? No. Unfortunately, you can only use old funds to purchase new tests for piloting that will be used this program year. Funds from this program year will not carry over to new grant or the new program year. Number 4, when will programs have funds to purchase tests for new program year? This applies to providers awarded the new grant. The grant will be effective July 1st, 2024, and those funds for the new program year will also be available July 1. Will old test providers, and it actually should say, will providers honor old tests when we transition to that provider's new test series? And the answer is yes. Remaining e-tests can switch over to the vendor's new e-test series for free, but that only applies for CASAS and DRC. This does not apply for the CAL test instrument. Number 6, will proctors be required to recertify for program year 24-25? Test proctors new to the test must complete the TWC approved training before administering the test. And all proctors are required to take refresher training every 2 years. So will proctors be required to be recertified? Yes, if moving to BEST Plus 3.0 and BEST Literacy 2.0. Refreshers may also be required for CASAS and TABE test. Number 7, will certified CASAS trainers need new CASAS training? Yes. Once again, all certified CASAS trainers must recertify. Will trainers who have completed the new CASAS Math Goals 2 training need training again when CASAS Reading Goals is replaced with the new Reading Goals series? Well, this is a nice and easy one. It's a no. You're good to go. And number 9, will teams roll over the last CASAS Reading Goals test score to the new program year? Yes, teams will roll over the last Reading Goals test. Unless exempt, students must be tested in all content areas. For example, student will be required to take a new CASAS Math Goals 2 test in the new program year prior to the first contact hour if that student is working on his HSC and needs both math and reading. Number 10, will eligibility be impacted with BEST Plus higher score ranges? And right now we believe that yes, it will be impacted. To what degree, we're not certain yet. We're waiting on additional information from Cal to confirm. We've also asked the vendors for a crosswalk for BEST Plus 2.0 and BEST Plus 3. And we've been told that they don't have a comparison or crosswalk for the two versions of Best Plus, but there is some additional information via an FAQ page as well as an informational video. So hopefully that will help to some degree. And then number 12, final question that we're posting in the stack is, what do we do with unused old printed test booklets if we're transitioning to a new test instrument? Any unused old printed test booklets have to be shredded. So hopefully this is answering some of the questions that you may have had. And I think we can go ahead and open it up to any other questions that may have popped up during the presentation.
Thank you, Linda. So one question someone had asked about when the 24-25 testing guide is going to be available, and it's currently scheduled to be available July 1st, 2024. After it does have to go to Octave for approval. There were a couple of questions, Tracy, specific to training around the BEST 3.0. One is, will there be a BEST 3.0 TOT required training?
At some point there will. Right now, Cal is planning to have that test administrator training for BEST Plus 3.0 available beginning in the fall. Like, we don't know exactly when in the fall, but I think they're going to leave that self-paced course open for several months. We will talk with them about recertifying our trainers. That probably won't occur until probably spring of next year, because that test administrator course will be open for everyone to take. That's kind of a to be determined at this point.
If you're rolling over into the math HSE course, they will have to retest for the new fiscal year?
For the new program year, yes, if you're using CASAS as your test instrument. And that's because the current math test instrument for CASAS is going to sunset June 30th. So definitely, if a student's rolling over to the next program year, they're going to have to be tested with the new CASAS Math Goals 2.0 or 2. And that will be entered into Teams, and it will become the student's new baseline.
Thank you, Linda. And then will there be an email to alert us when availability registration for the TOT training in Houston?
Yes, there will be. We are still working on securing the room. That's taking a little bit of time. Once we get that nailed down, I will send out a listserv announcement to all of the directors and PD coordinators, letting them know that that is available. And directors and PD coordinators are the ones that choose who from their program will come to the TOT, because we're training the trainer to train your staff to be test administrators. And we will offer this again, probably in the fall. So if your program's not quite ready to go over to Best Literacy 2.0 right away, don't be stressed. We'll offer this TOT again during the program year to accommodate programs, rolling over later if you don't choose to do it right away.
When will we have a certified CASAS trainer training?
You mean a new TOT for CASAS? I'm assuming
Yes,
that's what you mean. Okay. We're not sure about that yet, because we've got current trainers we're going to recertify. They can train on the old version or the new version of tests, and we'll probably do a CASAS TOT for new trainers, I would guess perhaps in the late summer or fall. Summer is filling up so quickly for our team that would do the training, and so kind of looking at fall. And in the meantime, if you need a trainer and you don't have one on your team, remember to talk to your PD coordinator and have them talk to the PD specialist, and they can help y'all secure a trainer to come to your program and train. That's kind of what we're doing in the meantime. I hope that answers that question.
Can you post a link to this FAQ? I'm assuming you're meaning the slide deck. And once we get this recording through post-production, we will have a accessible version of these PowerPoint slides available.
And I also believe that at some point, these questions are great questions as well. And PWC is probably going to compile an FAQ with all questions that we get in the next few weeks, even we'll probably post it with the TDBC approved test training chart when that gets updated. So this may be in a couple of places, that FAQ.
Okay, great. Thank you. So if you think of some more questions, if you'll go ahead and just send those questions to both Tracy, myself, and copy AELTA, we'll ensure we get them answered. And just as Tracy said, we'll be compiling a complete list of the questions and answers that we will share with all the programs.
And once that FAQ is ready and together, we'll send out an announcement too, so everybody knows where to go find it.
Thank you, Beth. That sounds great. I want to thank you for your attendance here. Thank you all so much for attending.
We hope you enjoyed this pre-recorded webinar. After you have passed the final test with a score of 80% or greater and have received your certificate of completion, please take a few moments to complete the course evaluation. Participant feedback helps Train PD at TCAL continue to provide high-quality professional development. To leave a course feedback, please go to the completed portion of your transcript. To do this, hover over the My Learning tab and select View Your Transcript. Click on the drop-down arrow next to the word Active and select Completed. Then, click Evaluate in the drop-down menu next to the course you just completed. Please note that your feedback is greatly appreciated.